Stuart, how's it looking another week closer to fitness for some of the guys?
Yeah, we've had a number of the guys back on the grass that have been injured. Still get a bit of time to go with that, to try and build up that core fitness to make sure they're fully over the injuries. So the three that really stick out in my head for that: Shane Blaney, Apostolos and Johnny Katrumbis. They've all been working at a similar level. Johnny's been out longer than the other two, so it might take him a wee bit longer to build up. Don't expect him involved in the squad this weekend, but it seems far more positive that we're starting to see these guys out in the grass and running, so that's a boost for them personally, but a boost for us all to start to see that.
Yeah, with Apostolos and Johnny as well, because they've come across at a different time. Now we've been a bit behind pre-season. Are they you're going to be kind of careful with them to get them up to speed and give them as much of a pre-season as you can?
Yeah, it's a fair point, because we tried to do our due diligence with both guys, but I think coming from Australia and I built up a good understanding of this before pre-season with Johnny was what we do now is just a complete whirlwind in pre-season. We've got a couple of weeks to get ourselves fit and up to speed. We start playing games really quickly, and before we know it, we're into competitive action. Whereas I think over in Australia, it's a far longer process. I think it's over 2 months that they work during pre-season, and they have longer to sort of build themselves into being ready for a season. So I think the change of mindset's a big thing, but obviously we can see that that's had some sort of impact on the body, on the muscles. Both guys are muscle injuries, so there's definitely takeaways for us as a football club that way. Do we think we tried to ward against it as much as we can? Yes, probably, but even when you think you're doing that, you might need to be a little bit more cautious with those two players in particular, because it's the last number of years for them has been a completely different pre-season to what we face. So definitely takeaways from that, but that's why we want to give them that wee bit extra time now, because we think we can build them up into being guys that come into our group and stay in there ultimately.
Obviously the international week was some good time on the pitch, and assists and goals from Lennon and Ewan Wilson for under 21s. That must be great for the club, for everybody who's been involved in their development as well. Yeah,
it was really positive. I sat in here and watched it on Tuesday. Delighted to see both lads starting. I was delighted to see Ewan coming on the pitch in the first game. Obviously a wee bit of disappointment with how Lennon's playing at this point, and we were desperate for him to go on the pitch in the first game, but that's no my decision to make, that one. But I think what everybody could see was the quality that the two lads possess and the confidence that they're carrying, and I hope that they bring even more back with them, and they should, based on the fact that there's goals and assists and a good level of performance, a different experience in particular for Ewan, not coming through the youth national teams, but Lennon's obviously experienced those trips and coming together as that national team, so I think it just becomes a brilliant experience for Ewan in particular. JT's been away, he's had some minutes, Christian's been away, he's had some minutes, so there's real positivity from that point of view. Obviously sometimes I watch it for behind my hand and desperate for them to come back and be fit here, because these guys are playing for our team. It's not like they're making up numbers. It's not like they're guys that are just kind of add-ons to our group. They're playing, they're important, they're pivotal to what we are doing at this minute in time. So I'm always desperate for them to come back and make sure that they're ready to go for us. And it disrupts our preparation, of course, a wee bit for Aberdeen and how we want to work. But I would always pick that recognition of international duty and the experiences it's brought for them, and we'll work around that over the next day or two.
It's a huge ethos of the club, that, isn't it, with the youngsters coming through?
Yeah, it is, and do you know what I thought was a brilliant story as well? I thought that Max Johnson wanting to come in and play for the 21s was unbelievable in that. Now Max isn't one of your guys necessarily now, but obviously somebody I know well and this football club knows well. Played virtually every minute for me when I first came in, over a chunk, and earned himself a move out to Austria. But I think that probably shows you the mindset of these guys, and you're talking about ethos. That's what we want them to be. Had a brilliant opportunity to be away with the A squad, with the first team. And then puts his hand up to say he wants to go and play for the 21s over in Malta. I think it's brilliant, and it was nice for us to see three players that we know so well, and see them perform so well, and we want more of it. These guys will want more of it. what they have to do, as I say, is take those experiences and make sure that their club form stays at the level that it's at. Again, a little bit of a whirlwind, just an absolutely brilliant story for Ewan. He wasn't in the initial group. Took a phone call for Scott Gemmill as we were working really hard last week, even though we didn't have a game. Ewan was on the pitch, and we had a wee bit of a funny with him, in that I was subbing him and taking him off the training pitch. We had a 16-year-old that we were putting into the first team session as his replacement. He's looking at me with that blank expression that he's got, no sure why he's getting taken off the pitch. And when we announced it to the group, you need to see the rest of the boys. They're absolutely made up for him, because what a story, getting sent back for a loan for Stirling Albion, been out at Beath Juniors, making your way through what's been a really good pre-season for him, and then ultimately winding up starting a game for Scotland's under-21s and performing the way he did, in the opening goal, especially first couple of minutes. It's just a brilliant story, and it's one that we want to be associated with the football club, and as I say, we want plenty more of it. But it is, for me, again, we need to strip this back. There's all different pathways and how you get there. There's another example of it, and it has to be one that brings a smile to everybody's face. And I'll not tell you the phone conversation that went with his mum and looking for his passport, but again, we've got to laugh, we've got to enjoy these moments.
Just on you, and obviously you're talking about being at Beath sort of then end of last season. It's also the 6th tier of Scottish football. What has he done to make the jump from that level to the Premiership? Not just play at Premiership level, but impress as well.
He had to build his confidence back up. If you've been sent back from a loan from another club, it probably tells you it's not worked. Somebody doesn't see you playing in their team. They see people ahead of you. I think ultimately human beings will be dented in their confidence, so we have to try and build his confidence up. That's where I felt that that Beath was a good opportunity for him. Speaking to Chris there, he was looking for that left-sided player. Probably had a feeling, with all due respect, that Ewan had way more capabilities than playing at that level. And again, I'm not being disrespectful to their football club at all, but I felt that he just had to play minutes, and he had to gain the experiences of winning silverware, which he done when he was out there. And I think sometimes I've had another situation like this just recently as well. Sometimes you've got these aspirations that you think that you have to be at the absolute top level today. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you need to build up your understanding of the game. You need to build on the minutes that you can get on the pitch. Maybe a wee bit of success in there, and just build your confidence back up. And I think that's exactly what we managed to do with Ewan. And credit to the guys at Beath, they handled him really, really well. They were excellent for him. But I think all of that sort of culminated in where he finds himself at this minute in time, and I think a lot of it's confidence. And I've already spoke about it as well. Ewan will be the first one to tell you, just a better education of how to prepare as a pro to play in a game of football, or even to train day to day to make sure he's ready. And it wasn't that he was a bad pro. I think it was just that he could have a greater understanding of what the top guys do and how that can help him.
With Tolanda, I know he never played as many minutes, maybe Lennon and Ewan, but is he back in the building? Obviously a bit more of a lengthy journey for him.
Yeah, these guys won't train today. All the lads that were involved in playing games on Tuesday with the travel and everything, they don't train today. JT will be back in later on today, so he will be back in at Football Club this afternoon. The other guys, it's still part of that recovery process. They've had travel, they've had a couple of games in there. As I say, Ewan, Christian and Lennon have all played 90 minutes on Tuesday, so it's just a case of us trying to prepare them to get ready to go and travel to Aberdeen on Friday and make sure that they're able to give us something in the game. So these guys, they'll not do a session today. It'll more be analysis based. It'll be more around what we want to do tactically for the game, without really taking part in anything in the intensity of a session.
Just on the game at the weekend, Stuart, it's gone really well for Jimmy Tulane so far. How key is that as a manager for the players to buy into what you're trying to do when things aren't going so well, and managing to change it around? It's
God, isn't it? In football terms, it's God. That's what it's about. I think we all have theories about how this works, and we've all got a blueprint and a blue sky thinking of how this will all look and selling the dream to people. But ultimately, if you can't get anybody to buy into it, then it's not going to work. If you can't get, and I'm not saying anybody, sometimes it doesn't matter with people that surround the football clubs, but if you can get the players to buy into it, what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to do, then you have a real good chance of success, player development, all the things that we speak about here on a weekly basis. If you don't get buy-in for the players, you have absolutely nothing. So for me, I've always seen that as God. Until I get that, then you'll never achieve anything.
Just how impressed have you been with the
I think, again, what impresses me, and I kind of said it here when I came in, whatever it was, 19 or so months ago, that we didn't have a transfer window. I think Jimmy's obviously had a transfer window over the summer to bring in some of his own players, but what you're always going to have to do is you ain't changing your entire squad, so what you have to do is get more out of the people that are already there, that sometimes have been much maligned, that are maybe lacking in confidence. So I think that's a bit that always impresses me with any manager, not just at Aberdeen, but you'll see it across the country throughout the course of this season, and have done many times in the past. You have to get more out of people that are already in the building. Again, what is the secret for that? What is the key to that? You have to try and resonate with them in some way to get the best out of them. It's not the same for every player, it's not the same fit for every single player, but I think you can quite clearly see since the start of the season that Aberdeen are getting more out of some people that were already there, and they look as if they've made some really shrewd and quality acquisitions as well. So it seems to be coming together very well for them at this minute in time, and it makes it a really tough game for us to go up to Pittodrie and play against them. But I don't think I've ever been there where it's been an easy game anyway, but you're obviously playing against a side now that are on a 9-game winning run or something. I think something along those lines, which is never to be scoffed at.
For yourselves, you're at 7 points so far. How do you assess the league campaign after this wee mini break with the internationals?
We've been fine. Again, I never get carried away, and a big part of your week last week was about trying to drive this forward and to try and push boundaries, so the idea of just taking days and days off and trying to enjoy what was a win at McDiarmid Park and 3 victories in a row, that was never going to be a thing for me. But I think what you have to do is probably strip it back. There was a lot of negativity, and I said this after the St Johnstone game surrounding this football club, but I'd heard a little bit of noise about some of the players that we lost and how that was going to be a huge issue for you. And listen, it might still be. I'm only talking about those last 3 games, but again, it's just a knee-jerk reaction of Scottish football. Now everything's great, now everything's brilliant. I don't work in that terms, and the players don't work in those sorts of terms. We know what we've done well over that 3 games to get a result, but I've also said off the back of those 3 games that I think that we can still play and perform an awful lot better, and we have to ward against playing an awful lot worse, because if that is the case, then I don't think you become competitive. And I touch on what happened last year with us as well. Sometimes those things stare you right in the face, where we go on a bad run after an international break and a great start to the season as it were last year. I for one don't want to be sitting here feeling comfortable with myself or the group or what's happening here at the club. We have to work exceptionally hard to make sure that we don't go into a bad run and we don't find what happened last year. I know a lot of people try and shy away from that and no talk about it. I don't. I put it right in front of you and sort of mark that down as a challenge that we need to try and overcome. Something we faced last year, and we don't want to face it again this year.
So can I just ask you about one of our favourite topics? VAR, so obviously
I thought we'd stopped. I thought everything was all right now.
Are you pleased to see the kind of level of transparency that happened yesterday?
Yeah, all kidding aside, yeah, I've not spent any time kind of looking at what came out yesterday. Just a little bit of conversation round about here. The reason why I've not really went into in depth is that I feel that it's been really good to this point. I know there's still going to be 1 or 2 contentious issues, but you used the word there, Gav, the transparency's been excellent from day one. The conversation, the listening, the aspect of listening to each other was something I've spoke about for a long time. I think that's been there. I don't think that we'll have solved every single problem, but I certainly do feel that there is a little change in the tide in terms of getting more decisions right. There feels like there's less contentious issues, and there just kind of feels like there's a level of common sense. And I for one always love transparency. That certainly seems to be out there at this minute in time. Again, not a finger pointing exercise, but if there's errors there, then we address them, we identify them, we discuss them, and we try and find a way to, as I keep talking about, rectify them. It's not just about pointing them out and showing what the error is. It's about trying to rectify them. And to this point, I for one feel as if it's been a pretty decent start. And I'm sure, like I'm talking about with my own team there, Willie will want to try and grow on that as time goes with his team.
It was one at the St Johnstone game quite near the start, which I don't know if they spoke about after the game because it didn't affect the result, but the long delay, penalty review, he didn't get it. Did you get transparency about that? Did somebody explain?
The information for the fourth official at the time was really good for me, really good. We thought there was a debate about whether it was inside the box or outside. It wasn't so much that, it was kind of two opinions, more or less two opinions on whether it was a penalty kick or not. Was there enough foul, enough contact, sorry, for it to be a penalty kick. Having watched it several times now, it's not a penalty. It's not a penalty in my opinion. I would be really hurt if that was given against my team. So I felt what I really enjoyed was the referee was asked to go to the screen, go to the monitor. It's obviously signifying he might have missed something. He did take a bit of time over it, but I think ultimately got to the correct decision. And I'd be a hypocrite if I sat here and thought that every decision that we start mulling over in relation to my team should go in our favour. I don't believe that should be given as a penalty for or against us. So quite happy with the outcome. Probably can be a wee bit quicker with the timing of it, but I thought the communication again for the fourth official was excellent.